Nintendo has started thinking about their next console, considering various tech, pondering release timing. This is an article coming from Go Nintendo, which sources Nintendo Everything. But the interview, the interview basically.
I always find it funny when these like Nintendo sites source a different Nintendo fan site. I don't know.
Yeah.
If you follow the rabbit hole deep enough, you'll find like a legit interview or something. But
this interview, reading from Nintendo Everything, the article says Nintendo President Tatsumi Kimishima, hope I pronounced that right, has conducted new interviews with a few different outlets this week, including Asahi. In its first article, the Japanese newspaper quotes Kimishima, saying that next year Nintendo would like to offer new kinds of gameplay that make use of Joy-Con features such as HD Rumble and the motion tracking camera. He unfortunately did not elaborate further, but the tease itself is interesting enough. HD Rumble allows for more realistic vibrations, while the camera can detect the shape, movement, and distance of objects. In a separate piece, Asahi goes much more in depth with Kimishima. He spoke about Switch sales and supply, Super Nintendo World, and much more. Kimishima also spoke very vaguely about Nintendo's next console, which is what we are here for, on expanding games into 2018 and beyond. He says, to those who have bought a system during the holiday season, Kimishima asks to please play the games already released. For those who like games and have had the system from launch, Nintendo has been providing DLC so they can be played in the long term. So it seems like DLC is going to be the norm for games continuing forward, which I fully expect Mario Odyssey to get DLC at like the next Nintendo Direct or something. It goes on to say, next year Nintendo would like to provide games that make use of Switch's new playstyles.
Yeah, it's funny you're saying about Odyssey getting DLC, whereas with Breath of the Wild, I think their goal with DLC was to add more depth to the world that they had built.
Yeah.
I feel like Odyssey's DLC would be kind of the opposite, would be to add more worlds or more kingdoms to sort of flesh out more, like just to have more content and more explorable areas.
Yeah.
Just sort of the opposite philosophy.
Even if it was something like allowing $5 for this pack of DLC, and in it you can play as Luigi instead of Mario. Like,
sure.
If Link gets a motorcycle, Mario should get his brother. That's
let's have Green Mario back.
Yes. But the important reason that this is on here, Nintendo hints at or alludes to their next console. They don't reveal too much, but they say Nintendo has started thinking about it. However, consumer preferences always change and technology always continues to evolve. Example, AI has been used more often, such as the AI smart speaker. I believe he's referring to like Alexa and some of the other stuff from like Amazon and Google and stuff, where you can just talk and then it'll order whatever you want. He says Nintendo has to keep thinking about whether to include such technology until the very end. I don't imagine Nintendo should include that. Like, who's going to use their Nintendo to order a product off eBay or Amazon? Or like Nintendo.
And I mean, with Xbox, they were trying to kind of have that sort of AI, like, listens to your voice. You can talk to Xbox on kind of thing, and that I think is the least, like that is not the functionality that people wanted or were looking forward to with the release of Xbox One. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like it didn't work out well with Kinect, so
yeah.
I don't think Nintendo.
I don't think anyone is buying an Xbox going, I really want more Kinect features. So yeah.
But they continue saying, if Nintendo has already decided right now on how the next game console would be like, they would no longer be able to take action. So what they're saying basically is they continue thinking of new ideas, which ones to use and which ones to not use, until it gets down to the time where they actually need to start producing otherwise, if they decide on what the console is, go ahead and produce it and just wait the years until release, then it might be outdated. Whereas if they keep bringing in ideas and throwing away old ideas until the very end, then it'll be like a more modern system for the time. Which kind of like when the Wii U came out, it felt like they did the exact opposite, to where it felt like a system that should have been out a lot sooner than it was. Like if the Wii U came out 2 or 3 years after the PlayStation 3 as opposed to 5 or 6, I imagine it would have done a lot better. But it came out at a time to where it seemed like Nintendo already had it in their head when tablets started becoming popular, that they were like, oh, we should make the controller a tablet. But then like a few years later, it's like nobody really wants to play with a tablet. It's a really good idea, but like maybe if the system itself would have been more powerful, but it felt like it was just behind. Like it would have been a good console a few years before. And then they finish with, Nintendo needs to think about the release timing in a flexible way. So I want to bring up, there was an article listing a few months ago. I could probably go back and find it, but I made a video about it, talking about the article. It was a listing from Nintendo for people who were experienced in some type of engine building to work on a new platform. It was kind of, the terms it was using were alluding to like a new console. And I think this was like around the time the Switch came out, so it may have been like whenever they first started thinking about whatever the next console may be, whether it be a successor to the 3DS or a successor to the Switch. So yeah, and I believe there was even an interview with Miyamoto after the Switch came out where he said that they still continually come up with like designs and stuff for a 3DS successor, but then he said that they'll come, like during the meetings and stuff, they'll come up with many ideas for many different things, and only like 1% of those ideas get like passed on. So even if they were thinking about, this is what the next 3DS is going to be, or this is what the next Switch is going to be, it may just be like a 5-minute conversation during that one meeting and that's it. Because he said they're always coming up with new ideas and innovations for several different things. So there'll be something that they're thinking about and working on for months and months, and then someone will come along with a better idea and they'll just like scrap everything they had. Which is kind of like what they're saying here, where they say Nintendo has to keep thinking about whether to include such technology until the very end. So it kind of goes hand in hand with what Miyamoto was saying during his interview. So what about you? What do you expect for Nintendo's next console? Do you think it'll be like a Switch XL or a Switch 2, or do you think it'll be something else entirely?
Yeah, so I think there'll be like a second version of the Switch, almost like a Wii U had like a deluxe version that had more memory.
Yeah.
That was black instead of white, for example. So something minor like that, just like maybe something with more memory, or like slightly more powerful, like the 3DS XL, which is still, or the new 3DS XL is still 3DS, but it's like more powerful than the original release.
Yeah.
And then the next like full big console launch, I think will be in the same vein as the Switch, where it's sort of a like a hybrid, like the whole, you can take it on the go, but you can dock it and stuff. But so I'm not sure like where they can go with it next, other than just increasing the hardware, because it's like or the you know, the power of the system, because it's just like at this point they've combined their two markets. So I don't think they can, you know, backtrack on that, in my opinion. But like, I don't know how you could do a hybrid console differently. You know,
yeah.
I think they've struck the gold here, and now they. I don't want the thing with Nintendo is I never want to limit them. I don't want to put them in a box creatively, because that's what they do best, is when they're doing something different than no one else is doing, right?
Yeah.
And I don't want to tell them to do more of the same either, because every time they've done something that's not more of the same, that's with a couple of exceptions, they've been successful doing more of different. So
I could see a world where whenever they first announced the Switch, or at the time the NX, the president, I think it was the new president, Kimishima, had the interview on, it was like on CNN or something, where he was talking, like they announced the NX or whatever. And he said it was going to be a third pillar with the Wii U and the 3DS, which is the same thing Nintendo said with the Game Boy, the DS, when it came alongside the Game Boy Advance and the Nintendo 64, I assume. Or was it the GameCube?
With the DS?
Yeah, it was the GameCube.
GameCube, yeah. Nintendo 64 would have been... Well, no, the GameCube had... I guess they're kind of... The thing is, they don't like co-release. So it's...
Yeah.
Because the GameCube did have like the Game Boy Advance compatibility and stuff like that, but...
Yeah. But I think at the time, they said the DS was going to be a third pillar alongside the GameCube and the Game Boy Advance. That it wasn't going to replace anything.
But then it totally replaced the the Game Boy's lineup, right? Anyway, so...
And then they said the same thing with the Switch and the Wii U. And obviously, like, the very last Switch or Wii U game Nintendo released was the very first major Switch game they released. So you can't really... I don't want to say Nintendo was lying, but their marketing...
I feel like they kind of changed their mind about things like this a lot, though.
Their marketing talk can't always be taken as like complete truth. Even Miyamoto, when the 3DS first came out, he was being interviewed, and I talked about this in a video where he mentioned because the DS, the DSi, the DS XL, there was several different versions of the DS, and the person interviewing asked, like, what do you have to say to people who are interested in the 3DS but are holding out for like the 3DS XL or the 3DSi or whatever the next iteration is? And Miyamoto told him that Nintendo had absolutely no plans to release a new version of the 3DS, that it was, in their mind, like as good as it could possibly be. But then, like less than a few months later, they announced the 3DS XL. Not only do we get that, but we get the new 3DS, the new 3DS XL, the 2DS, and the new 2DS XL. So there was like, and not just
they
that
really
one...
need a better naming scheme. I keep saying it. They need to name things better.
So when Miyamoto said that, and, told everyone there's only going to be one 3DS, and then we get 5 more, or 4 more. 5 more. We get 5 more versions of it. So right now, if you ask Nintendo, is there going to be another version of the Switch? They would likely say no, but if you look at their pattern, it would point to there will be some iteration of it, whether it be just more memory or something. Like, what would be interesting is where some games run at a smoother frame rate, like Breath of the Wild, when it's docked instead of being played in handheld mode. Something as simple as where the battery drains so fast when it's using the processor's full power. You get like half the time. So it has to be docked before you can play it at its full speed. So you don't really get any of the improvements of it being docked when you have it in handheld mode. But if they allowed something like an update to where as long as you have it plugged into the wall charging while you're playing, it'll run at full speed. So then the games would obviously still be at 720p, but maybe that would be enough to boost it from like 30 frames per second to 60. Like, it wouldn't even need to be a new version of the console, just a software update. That would be something that would, especially with Breath of the Wild, where in the Korok Forest you get some of the frame drops. It would be enough to make it run at a constantly smooth FPS, so that you don't have any of that like jaggedness or whatever that kind of removes you from the game for a split second. So software wise, I could see them doing something like that. I do see them putting out new physical hardware, and I kind of expect the Switch to be the new handheld console, whereas they release like an actual dedicated home console that would be more on par with whatever the next generation of gaming would be. So I expect them to do that, and then the Switch move from more of the home console to replace the other. And then maybe they could do something like with the PlayStation Vita. Are you still there?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
I'm still here.
The PlayStation Vita had remote play to where you could play your PlayStation 4 games and it would stream to it. Now you can do that on certain cell phones. You can use your laptop to stream the PlayStation 4 game to your laptop. So as long as you have your PlayStation 4 and internet access, you can play your PS4 games on your laptop, your computer, on your phone, on the PlayStation Vita. Xbox One has something similar to where you can stream it to any Windows 10 computer and play on, whether it's a tablet, a PC, or a laptop. I don't know if anything else could do it, but so they have that, which is essentially like the Switch takes away the need to do that because it is what's controlling the game. And then with the home console, when it comes out, I imagine it would be able to not just play games on the big TV, but to keep the mobility and the importance of the Switch. It would allow you to stream the game to the Switch, sort of like the Rainway app that we were talking about before that would let you stream PC games to your Switch. I imagine whatever the next console is, it's not just the box that you plug into the TV, but it also works and is compatible with the Nintendo Switch. So I said a lot there, but now I'm done.
Yeah, it's all good. All right. Well, I guess we can go on to the next piece of news.
The videos on this channel are funded by supporters on Patreon like you. If you're a fan of this channel and would like to join on videos, receive shoutouts, watch videos early, have your questions answered, or have your topic discussed on our podcast, please consider supporting on Patreon for these and many other rewards for just $1. Shoutouts for this video includes Link Use the Triforce, Rusty Caulfield, Lovable Christie, Give Time 15, Shadow to Us, Robbie Morgan, and Lunarium. I want to thank all of you for everything you have done to help support this channel.